Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so glad you could join me today. We're going to be unpacking a topic that is super relevant for a lot of Australians, but, one that often comes with a fair bit of confusion and honestly a lot of assumptions. We're talking about self-managed superannuation funds, or SMSFs. Okay, let's just dive right in. When people hear the term SMSF, they usually picture high-flying financial experts, right? Or maybe strictly business-minded couples managing their retirement. But the landscape of who can actually be in an SMSF has completely shifted, and the rules are really specific. So today, we are going to explore exactly who can be part of an SMSF, how the structure actually works, and why understanding the shared responsibilities is absolutely critical. To really get our heads around this, I want to tell you a quick story about an Australian couple in their early 40s. Let's call them Hannah and Chris. So, picture this. It's a Friday night, and Hannah and Chris are having a lovely dinner party with Hannah's sister Emily and her husband. The wine's flowing, the conversation is great, and suddenly Chris says, I heard someone talking about a family SMSF today at work. Well, Emily pauses, literally puts her fork down, and immediately replies, a family SMSF? Wait, does that mean the whole family can be in it? Hannah just laughs, shakes her head, and says, imagine our parents, siblings, everyone involved. Sounds absolutely chaotic. And of course, everyone at the table has a good laugh at the thought of their very opinionated parents trying to agree on retirement strategies over a Sunday roast. Right, so they laugh it off, but the seed was definitely planted. Chris leans in and adds, now I'm kind of curious. How many people can actually be part of something like that? Fast forward to later that evening. On the quiet drive home, Hannah turns to Chris and says, honestly, I thought that was something only couples usually had. And Chris replies, same here. I didn't realize there could be different combinations of members. And you know what? This brilliantly illustrates a really common situation. So many everyday Australians just assume that an SMSF is strictly a two-person arrangement, usually just for a married couple. But that brings us directly to Chris's question from the dinner table. Under Australian rules, who can actually be in an SMSF and how many members are allowed? Well, the magic number here is actually 6. As of July 2021, the Australian rules were updated so that an SMSF can now have up to 6 members. Before that, the limit was only 4. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it completely bursts the myth that an SMSF is only for a couple. Depending on your situation, an SMSF might include parents and their adult children, or maybe even siblings joining forces. So when Emily asked if the whole family could be in it, she wasn't entirely wrong. Up to 6 people can be. But, and this is a very big but, just because you can have up to 6 people in your fund doesn't mean it's as simple as casually inviting your mates or your favorite cousins to join a group chat. So how does this actually build into the everyday reality of running the fund? Well, we need to look at a standard super fund versus an SMSF. In a standard retail or industry super fund, you're essentially just a passive member. You might choose a broad investment option, sure, but a massive company and their professional trustees handle all the compliance, all the legalities, and the day-to-day decisions. You basically just check your balance on an app. An SMSF is a completely different ballgame. The self-managed part means exactly what it says. When you add people to an SMSF, every single member generally takes on active, shared legal responsibilities as a trustee of the fund or director of the corporate trustee. You are the ones in the driver's seat, actually managing the entire structure. Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the strict rules of this membership structure. Yes, you can have up to 6 members, but rule number 2 is the big one. All members of the fund must also be trustees or directors of the corporate trustee company. This means everyone is ultimately responsible for making sure the fund complies with all the legal and tax requirements. You can't just have a silent partner member who sits back while someone else does all the hard work. Furthermore, no trustee can be paid for the role. It's a legal obligation you take on, not a job you get a salary for. And importantly, a member cannot be an employee of another member unless they are relatives. That's a strict compliance rule just to prevent employers from inappropriately managing their employees as super. Now, you might be wondering, why are these rules so strict? It all comes down to this really foundational concept called the sole purpose test. This is literally an absolute cornerstone of Australian superannuation law. A family SMSF is not some casual pool of money that you can dip into to help your sibling buy a new car or to fund a big family holiday or, to prop up a struggling family business. No way. The law requires that the true sole purpose of the SMSF must be strictly focused on providing retirement benefits to its members or death benefits to their dependents. Any actions by the trustees, which remember means all the members, that have a purpose other than retirement are viewed very, very seriously by the regulators. Every single decision has to be in the best financial interests of the beneficiary's retirement. And this brings us right back to Hannah and Chris. When Hannah joked that a family SMSF sounded chaotic, she actually intuitively grasped something very real. While participating together works beautifully for some families who have really aligned financial goals and communicate well, it for sure is not suitable for everyone. Every single family situation is completely different. Bringing multiple family members into a financial structure where everyone shares legal liability, that means you need absolute trust and transparency. Assumptions here can be incredibly costly, both financially and honestly in terms of family harmony. Understanding exactly how the structure works, the time required for administration, and the sheer weight of the shared legal responsibilities matters so much before making any assumptions or just jumping in. So before you invite the whole family to the table, ask yourself, who do you really want in the driver's seat of your financial future? And are they actually ready for the responsibility? This content is general and educational only. It is not financial advice. If you already have an SMSF or would like to better understand your compliance responsibilities, speak with the Wendy Super Accounting team.